Good evening, everyone. You know, it's really nice to see a room full of people again. And as all the comments I've been getting walking around here, I think everybody else feels the same way. Real people, no masks, and you can actually talk to each other. On behalf of the board of directors and the entire Joe Carroll Energy staff, welcome to the 2022 Joe Carroll Annual Meeting of the members. This happens to be the 83rd annual meeting that we've held. We will have a question and answer period towards the end of the meeting. We will be answering written questions that were submitted during and before the meeting. There are cards at your table. If you have a question, please write it down and they will be picked up. We will not be passing a microphone around. We're still seeing some issues with COVID. We don't need everybody trying to spread germs on a microphone. At this time, I'd like to introduce Larry Carroll, representing District 9. Larry?
I was told when making a speech at a meeting, there are 3 B's to remember. Be on time, be brief, and be gone. On behalf of the board of directors and employees of Joe Carroll Energy, I would like to welcome you and thank you for attending the 83rd annual meeting of members. Early in my career, I was privileged to work on the natural gas system here in Fulton and the surrounding area. Now I am privileged to serve you, the members, in the same area that I helped build. Enjoy the meeting, enjoy talking to others, and please be safe when returning home. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Let it be noted that there is a quorum present. The 83rd annual meeting of the members of Joe Carroll Energy will come to order. I should bang my gavel, but I don't have a thing to bang it on. The agenda for today is printed on page 1 of the annual report. May I have a motion from the floor to approve the agenda as printed? I got a motion. Do I have a second? And I've got a second. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as printed for the Joe Carroll Energy 2022 annual meeting. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The motion will carry. Please welcome the Reverend Kevin Van Hoeven, pastor of Bethel Christian Reformed Church of Fulton, who will give the invocation. Pastor?
None of you know me. Well, maybe one or two. I know none of you, except maybe one or two, and yet we are united in one way. We're both in the power business, correct? And this week, Sunday, is Pentecost Sunday, which is one of the Sunday of the year when we really celebrate God's power, the power that came on all people. And it was, according to my study and recollection, the first power grid ever created and still lasts today. So keeping that in mind, let's pray. God, you are a God of power, and you are a God who gives power. And on a week of Pentecost, we think of the power that came upon all believers many, many years ago. The power that came to them to spread the good news to Samaria and Judea, to the far ends of the world, of which Fulton would fall under that umbrella. And so we thank you tonight that we are the recipients of your power, the power that enables us to learn, the power that enables us to retain, the power that enables us to do things that we would not be able to do on our own, a power that enables us to discern right from wrong and good from best, the power to be able to join our minds together and take some dynamite that is hidden in the ground and make an explosion that brings honor and glory to your name. And so tonight we would ask that your power would rest upon this meeting, upon the food that it will eventually come, and that your name would be glorified in all that is said and done. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Very nicely done. Now, if you would all stand, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag is right here. Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Allow me to introduce your board. Please stand when I call your name. Jerry Meyer from District 1, East Dubuque. Joe Mattingly had to leave. He's not here. He's District 2 from Scales Mound. Marcia Stanger, our secretary from District 3 out of Apple River. Dan Tyndall from District 4, which represents rural Galena. Pat Smith, District 5, which is the District of Galena. Tom Lundy, District 7 out of Savannah. Russell Holsinger could not be with us this evening. He is the vice chairman out of Fulton and District number 8. Larry Carroll, we've already met him from District 9. He's out of Thompson. Robert Kuntz, our treasurer, District 10 from Geneseo. And I'm Dave Sen from District 7, Mount Carroll, your board chairman. I'd also like to introduce Mike Casper, our president and CEO. Terry Kirk, our outside general counsel. Now I would like to welcome former directors who are in attendance. Please stand. I guess none of them made it this evening. But one of the things we want to do is we just lost one of our very dear friends, which was a director, John Jack Jansen. He served on the board for Joe Carroll Energy from 1979 through 2011, representing District number 9. If we can have a moment of silence in remembering Jack. And Mike, I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe there are a couple of member advisory council members with us tonight. There's so many people here, I can't see them, but if there are, could you please stand? Do you have one? So our member advisory council members provide us valuable insight, input, and feedback. I'd like to recognize them and thank them for their time and feedback. But I'd also like to ask all of you, if you are interested in becoming a member of the Member Advisory Council, there's applications online, or you can just call our offices and we can help you register for that. Currently, we are developing a program for our next meeting. Next, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce several special guests. Please stand when I call your name. I don't know if Sheriff John Boker is with us tonight, but I do know that Officer Wary, like Cherry, is here tonight. In the back, if you could please stand. Thank you. Is Barbara Mask with us tonight? She is representing the First Ward in Fulton. David Shriver, I know thank you. David Shriver, President and CEO of the American Public Gas Association. He traveled from DC this morning to be with us, and he'll be presenting later in the program. Gary Camerano, please stand. Economic Development Director and Enterprise Zone Administrator for Whiteside County. David Schmidt, next to him, is our Regional Director of Northwest Illinois Economic Development. And across from him is Bill Jenke, Board Chair of Northwest Illinois Economic Development. I'm not sure if I saw Joe Dixon and Ben Wolf from International Flavors and Fragrances up the road from us. But I do know Crystal Riney is here from Prairie Power, one of our wholesale power providers. Paul Dow and Jim Pullen, please stand. They're helping us with the videoing this evening. They're from the American Association of Illinois Electric Cooperative Association, as well as Valerie Sheatham is with us tonight. Valerie, everybody, I heard some great things tonight about the Illinois Country Living already tonight, Valerie. So she is the editor of that. I'd also like to, a big thank you to Superintendent Dr. Darrell Hogue, Principal Robert Ghosh, and Assistant Principal and Athletic Director Patrick Henriken for the use of the school, as well as the janitorial staff. You may be seated if you are still standing. I'd also like to give a warm welcome to all of our former employees who have joined us tonight. I don't know if there are any, but I do want to have a special shout out to Marilyn Worster. I know she's here. I had a nice discussion with her tonight about her husband, Dennis, and he was a former general foreman for Joe Carroll, and I believe that was around 2000 when he retired. And he hasn't been with us for, I think, 5 years. Speaking of safety, I guess I haven't here. Hold on. Next, I'd like to recognize our current team members who are with us tonight. You probably saw a lot of those. They're in the back with the blue shirts, assisting probably elsewhere. But I'd like to recognize them with us tonight, and a big thank you for your continued commitment and dedication to safely serving our members. And speaking of safety, safety is Joe Carroll's #1 core value. We consistently promote a culture of safety for the protection of our employees, our members, and communities. At the beginning of most meetings, similar to tonight, we begin with a safety moment where we discuss a safety topic to help keep us focused on this important core value. As summer arrives, we think a lot about fun-filled activities, especially on a beautiful day like today. But the season can also bring severe, dangerous weather. A thunderstorm or tornado doesn't have to last long to wreak havoc. Once the storm has passed, it doesn't mean the danger has. Be alert to the possibility that storm debris can hide down power lines, and that's one of the primary reasons vegetation management is so important. I was also having a discussion about somebody who had blinks. A lot of that is because of limbs hitting the power lines and our reclosures opening and closing from a safety and a protective standpoint. So if you see low-hanging or down power lines, assume they are energized and deadly. Stay far away, keep others far away, and report the location to us. Our June newsletter, the Illinois Country Living, that I recognize Valerie for, includes an article about storm safety with information on what to do before, during, and after the storm. There is also a great article about a young adult, and we have some in the audience tonight, who took the appropriate precautions to keep herself safe after coming in contact with down power lines with her vehicle. If you'd like us to bring safety messages or demonstrations, you might have saw the hotline demonstration outside to your school, work, or other group, please give us a call. Now I'll turn the meeting back to Dave for the approval of the minutes from the 2021 annual meeting. Dave?
Speaking of safety, trying not to step on the book back there and break my neck coming up here. Last year's minutes are printed on page 7 and 8 of the annual report. I'll suspend the reading of those minutes. May I have a motion from the floor to approve last year's minutes as they were presented in the book? I have a motion. Do I have a second? I need a second. There we go. Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the 2021 annual meeting of the members of Joe Carroll Energy Incorporated. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it and the motion carries. Next, Terry Kirk, our outside general counsel, will explain the process of director elections, and then we'll proceed to present a proposed bylaw change. Terry, you have the podium.
Due to the election being unopposed, there are 3 directors being elected by a vote of acclamation in Districts 1, 2, and 4, and they are as follows. District 1 is Jerry Meyer. District 2 is Joe Mattingly. And District 4, Dan Tyndall. May I have a motion from the floor to elect the directors from District 1, 2, and 4? Do I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The motion carries. I declare the directors duly elected in Districts 1, 2, and 4 for 3-year terms. Please let me introduce Directors Jerry Meyer, please stand, Joe Mattingly, who is absent, and Dan Tyndall. Thank you. You may be seated. We have one bylaw amendment to consider this year. The Board of Directors have a goal to be always forward-thinking, but with a watchful eye in the past. During the recent pandemic, we utilized technology to conduct business virtually, providing the board more flexibility to continue essential cooperative business. The board decided to revise how directors participate in monthly board meetings by providing the option to meet virtually or participate by telephone. The proposed amendment appears on page 9 of the annual report and calls for a change to Article 5, Meeting of Directors, and relates to director participation by telephone or other communication equipment. May I have a motion to approve that amendment? We have a motion and a second? We have a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. I'll turn the meeting back over to the chair.
Thank you, Terry. The power of co-op membership. If you had a chance to read the annual report, both Mike and I touched on the importance of your co-op in this world of change. MISO, which is the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, at a recent meeting with the Illinois Commerce Commission, indicated the possibility of temporary blackouts this summer during the heat waves caused by a shortage of electric generating capacity. Although they said that the risk is a little bit low this year, the risk will increase greatly come 2023 as more coal plants are closing their facilities. Ironically, there is more capacity than there was a few years ago, but it can't always be counted on to run when most needed. Therefore, there is an additional need to add a generation baseload. In Illinois, however, that will not occur under the new Illinois Clean Energy Law. We at Joe Carroll are just as concerned on the future that might hold, what the future might hold. Protecting the place we call home. Planet Earth is one of our top priorities. Yet at the same time, there is our responsibility to you. The discussion on how to accomplish both comforts and needs walks down a very narrow path. Population growth, deforestation have created higher levels of CO2, which in turn have led to climate change. There is a pressure to reduce the use of fossil fuels, and we continue to find ways to diversify our energy portfolio. Joe Carroll is doing our part by educating members on energy conservation and efficiency. Using less and time of use are important parts of the equation we need to understand. Newer energy efficient appliances can be huge steps in the right direction. The growing use of electric vehicles, hand tools, lawnmowers, and other yard equipment may create more demand for generated electricity. When and when not to use energy will play an important role in helping to curb the need for adding new generation. We at Joe Carroll do not produce but purchase most of our power from generation and transmission cooperatives, of which we are the owners. We have talked to them with providing long-term, affordable, reliable, and environmentally sustainable electricity. Our providers are doing their best to move to cleaner generation while monitoring the reliability needs of the grid system. With one voice, it is important to communicate that change cannot outpace technology. Talk with your directors about your concerns. Please speak with your elected officials, both in Illinois and Washington, D.C. Together, we need to establish a two-way path of communications, the voice of rural America. 80 years ago, that voice brought electricity to the families of those not in urban settings. The future looks challenging, but together we can make a difference and not be left behind. You are the power of the co-op. You are the members and the owners of Joe Carroll Energy. Thank you. I will now turn the meeting over to Mike.
Most of us weren't born when rural cooperatives began to form across the country after the enactment of the Rural Electrification Act in 1936. The purpose? To raise the standard of rural living. 80 plus years later, Joe Carroll Energy, along with more than 800 electric cooperatives across the nation, continue as not-for-profit, trustworthy, and community-focused energy and now high-speed internet service providers. Electric co-ops are built by and belong to the communities they serve. We are focused on the people instead of profits to make our communities stronger. Providing value-added, affordable services that empower businesses, communities, and you to be more successful is just one of our objectives. For example, Joe Carroll Energy, through the award of nearly $25 million in grants, is thrilled at the opportunity to continue to accelerate the build-out of high-speed fiber internet in Northwest Illinois. Just like 80 years ago, when electricity empowered rural America to raise the standard of living, Joe Carroll is now empowering you to raise the standard of living with high-speed internet service. If you haven't already, this is where the grassroots effort comes in. I strongly encourage you to express your interest on connectsp.com. Our vision is to enhance the quality of life, providing value-added services to the businesses, communities, and member consumers that we serve. The power of co-op membership is your success. You depend on the services that Joe Carroll Energy and Sand Prairie provide to be there when you need them. Our team, many of whom are with us tonight along the wall, are here for you 24/7, 365 days a year. The dedication and commitment of our team is admirable. What drives that passion is our local presence. We are embedded in our communities and deeply care about each of you, our family, our friends, and our neighbors. Joe Carroll continuously processes feedback from you to improve services that we bring to you, powering you to be better, more competitive, and successful. While our primary purpose is keeping the lights on, the gas flowing, and the internet connected, our passion is our community. Because we are local, we have an invested interest to help grow and improve our communities. We take pride in giving back to our communities, first responders, and not-for-profits through unclaimed and donated capital credits. Bringing that money back to our communities, helping make them more attractive places to live, work, and play. We're on the Mississippi River, right? In closing, I want to thank you personally for attending or listening, for our listening radio folks out there, to this evening's meeting and your feedback. so that we can continue to improve the services that we provide to you to further your success. Next, I'd already introduced Dave Shriver, but I want to talk a little bit more about who he is and his team and what he's going to familiarize you with tonight, and that's American Public Gas Association. They work with federal regulatory agencies, our legislators, and there are more than 700 members, again, across the nation, including Joe Carroll, to maintain natural gas as a safe, reliable, and affordable alternative. As a representative on the executive committee of the APGA board, I have the pleasure to work closely with Dave. I can't speak more highly of Dave and his team's integrity, experience, and passion in looking out for your best interests in maintaining safe, efficient, and affordable natural gas to Fulton and the surrounding communities. Please help me welcome Dave Shriver to the stage.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always nice to get outside of DC, now more than ever. And it's great to see people together again, getting away from the virtual. When COVID first started, it had an impact upon APGA. It had an impact upon our members. I know Joe Carroll as well. So I took it as a challenge that I was going to lose 20 pounds during COVID. I stepped on the scale last week and I am 28 pounds away from my goal. So that's an example of moving in the wrong direction. Next slide. A brief update on APGA, and Mike said it better than I ever could. Our members are part of their community. They're they're not-for-profit. They represent Main Street, not Wall Street. There's about 1,000 public gas systems nationwide. We have about 740 as our members. I grew up in Ohio. I'm a Big Ten guy, but a lot of our members are from the Southeast. I always joke we're an SEC intensive association, so they take their football and their barbecue very seriously. But it's the reason we have so many members in the Southeast is because as natural gas came out of the Gulf of Mexico, for a lot of small and medium-sized communities, the only chance they had to get that gas into their community was to create their own gas system. So, and as I said, I couldn't be prouder of what our members do. They're part of the community. They play a vital role. And even during COVID, they were able to work to ensure energy reliability and resiliency to their customers. Next slide. Now, there's over 60 public gas systems in Illinois. Mike's been on our board for a number of years. He's been on our executive committee, and I very much appreciate his leadership. He has represented Illinois well. But as I said, a lot of the systems in Illinois are really an example of public gas systems. They're small systems. Half of our members have 5 employees or less. We do have some large members like Philadelphia. But in Illinois, it's a lot of small, medium-sized communities that are filling a vital role in terms of providing natural gas to their community affordably, reliably, with resilience, and as energy efficient as possible. Next slide. Now, I think everybody here remembers Storm Uri, February of last year. You had incredibly cold weather over President's Day weekend that impacted natural gas production in areas of Texas, Oklahoma, not used to that extreme cold weather. And that extreme cold weather also drove up demand. So you had a reduction in production, about 15%, an increase in demand, and that led to extreme high prices. Next slide. If you look at some of these price increases, and I talked to Mike about this, a lot of these states in the center of the country, in the Midwest, were severely impacted. The price of natural gas in Illinois went from the mid $2 range to over $200. At one area in Tulsa, the price hit $1,100. So APJ was very concerned about what happened. For me personally, this seemed akin to a gas station owner in New Orleans raising the price of a gallon of gasoline right before a hurricane. Consumers were paying abundant and exorbitant prices for natural gas. And our members, like Joe Carroll, had no choice but to purchase the natural gas at those high prices because they have an obligation to serve their customers, and they want to meet that obligation. A lot of our members are captive to one pipeline. I know Joe Carroll has access to 2 transmission pipelines, but if you only have access to one transmission pipeline, you have limited access to production, limited access to storage, which makes the impacts of a weather event like this even harder. Next slide. Now, some examples here. The Kansas Municipal Gas Association, they spent their annual gas purchase, 3 times their annual gas purchasing budget over those 4 days in President's Day weekend. Winfield, they typically spend $1.5 million over a year on natural gas. They were forced to spend $10 million over 6 days. So this was a major event. My concern is unless we put something in place to make sure this doesn't happen again, a lot of these small systems, it's going to be tough for them to survive that second event. And there's nothing to say that this can't happen again. So at APJ, that's what we've been working on, is to try and put measures in place to protect consumers from these type of increases in the future. Next slide. Now, when Storm Uri happened, we moved pretty quickly. We sent letters to FERC, which is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, to the Department of Energy, and to the President, requesting an investigation and immediate action. FERC has conducted an investigation. We've also supported legislation. Congressman Castro from Texas has introduced a bill which would give the CFTC the authority to set up a rulemaking and put measures in place when an emergency is declared to stop these price increases from the future. Certainly, when you have an emergency, when you have an increase in demand, when you have a reduction in production, you are going to have a price increase. But going from $3 to $1,200 does not make sense. We support measures in place to protect consumers. And if a gas producer is making money at $3, they can continue to make, they'll be happy with $20 or $40, whatever the CFTC sets as a cap. So we've supported that legislation. We've also put together a white paper to advocate for measures that can be done right now, some of which already have been done to protect consumers. And that includes weatherizing production. So when you have an extreme cold weather event, the production does not shut down. A greater coordination between the electric and natural gas industry. So in Texas, had this extreme cold weather, they had to have brownouts, meaning they were shutting people off of power for a while. And some of the areas they were shutting off were the production areas. And when you shut off electricity to a production area, they can't produce. So greater coordination so you can continue to get the natural gas into the system. As you probably are aware, not a lot is happening in Congress right now. Will Rogers once said, the feeling the nation gets when Congress is in session is the same feeling one gets when a baby picks up a hammer. So not a lot is happening right now. So I don't think it's likely that this legislation is going to pass, but we're still pushing for some measures, both regulatory and legislative, to protect consumers. Next slide. One of the big issues we're focused on is Section 5 reform. Now, this deals with FERC refund authority. Now, as I mentioned, 95% of our members are captive to one pipeline. Under the Natural Gas Act, the pipeline can obtain a just and reasonable rate, meaning Joe Carroll will pay a just and reasonable rate to that pipeline, and that's required by law. Now, what we found over time is rates have become unjust and unreasonable. And if Joe Carroll felt like the electric provider bringing electric transmission to them over the line was charging an unjust and unreasonable rate, they would file a rate case under the Federal Power Act. That rate case will take a couple years, and FERC would say, you know what, you're right, you were overcharged, here's a new rate, and it's effective to when you file the rate case. So you get a refund of all the money that was overcollected from the date you filed the rate case. Same scenario on the natural gas side. If Joe Carroll felt like they were being overcharged by the pipeline, they would file a rate case. Again, a couple years, FERC would say, you know what, you're right, you were overcharged, here's a new rate, it's effective today. So there's no refund on the Natural Gas Act as there is on the electric side. So that's something we've been pushing to change. And these are real dollars. The Natural Gas Supply Association that represents producers, they do a study every year of the pipeline over collections, and those collections are in the $600 million range every year. So we want to make sure that money stays in the community by giving FERC refund authority under the Natural Gas Act. We have a strong coalition. It's something we've been pushing for a while. NRECA supports it. The public power sector supports it. The only group opposing it is the pipelines because they want to keep the money. It's a political issue, unfortunately, and as much as DC is. I worked on Capitol Hill for 7 years, which is probably why I have no hair. But a lot of what we do is impacted by politics, and it's frustrating at times. And a while back, I looked up the origin of the word politics, and it comes from the Greek word poly, meaning many, and the word ticks, which means blood-sucking parasites. So we have our challenges in DC, and frankly, I don't expect a lot to happen this Congress. As we get closer to the November elections, it becomes harder for people to work together, and we'll see what happens with the elections and then go from there. Next slide. Now, when I talk about natural gas and the benefits, they're pretty straightforward. It's reliable. It has an underground infrastructure, so it's a very reliable form of energy. It's affordable, although the price of natural gas has gone up. It's still affordable. It's abundant. It's domestic. I look at California because they have high energy prices right now, or for a while now. In California, the price of natural gas is delivered at 3 times the efficiency and 1/3 the cost of electricity. So it's a very affordable, efficient source of energy, reduces consumers' energy costs, and as I mentioned, it's resilient. Next slide. And because for these reasons, we believe natural gas has a role in our energy future. It's interesting, a while back, our members had said we need to do more in terms of getting out to nationally, getting our message out nationally to the consumers. So we undertook a social media campaign. It's called the Natural Gas Genius Campaign. And the first part of that campaign was focus groups. We had a focus group in Atlanta through a PR firm, another focus group in St. Louis. And when I talk about natural gas benefits, affordable reliability, we thought, people should care about that. And what we found is, that wasn't as important to them. What they cared about was how a natural gas appliance improved the quality of my life. How does it make my home a better castle? How does it make my family happier? And so the campaign really focuses on that. So when you look at a natural gas appliance that way, it's competing with a nice entertainment center, a real big screen TV for me, or a tile backsplash. So that campaign, it's online. You can take a look at it. But it's really geared to getting a positive message out to consumers of natural gas regarding the benefits and the wise choice they made. Next slide. Public safety. I know Mike talked about safety. That's an important issue for our members. They want to be safe. They want the consumers to be safe. We want our employees to go home in the same condition they came to work. And our members have a responsibility to provide for the safety of their employees and to serve natural gas safely to their customers. They've undertaken large initiatives to make sure consumers know about 811, call before you dig, or call 911 if you smell gas. In terms of employee safety, well, during COVID, they had to adjust. They held outdoor meetings, had employees not come into the office, make sure employees were safe when they entered a customer's home. And we've also encouraged our members to adopt Stop the Job and near miss reporting. So employees can speak up and say, hey, we think this is a safer way to do it, or maybe we should look at this to really build consensus in the industry. They also have to comply with strict federal and safety pipeline requirements. New regulations come out every year through PHMSA, which is the federal agency that regulates pipeline safety. So our job is to make sure our members are aware of those regulations and what they need to do to comply with them. Next slide. Now, natural gas R&D is something we're very excited about. There's been a number of innovations in terms of natural gas appliances and natural gas safety. Natural gas heat pumps is something that we expect to come to market in the next 1 or 2 years. They're over 100% efficient. They will provide heating, water heating, and air conditioning. So we expect those to be available for commercial and residential units in the near future, as I said, 1 to 2 years. We've also made large gains in terms of improving the cooktops at restaurants that use natural gas. I mean, almost every restaurant you walk into is going to have natural gas cooktop. They probably don't cook with electric. So we've tried to make those as efficient as possible, and also looked at the venting, both for residential and commercial, to make sure there's proper venting in place in terms of the byproducts of the cooking. Methane mitigation, capturing methane at the source of production rather than flaring it and reusing that methane. We've also looked at RNG, which is renewable natural gas. My drive here from Midway drove through a lot of rural areas, and I toured a rural area recently in South Carolina, and what they're doing is they're capturing this agricultural byproduct, whether it's sweet potatoes or manure, and they're taking the methane from that and utilizing it. So you're capturing methane that would have gone up to the air, and you're utilizing it as a form of energy. We think it has tremendous potential in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. It's a great story to tell. And we're also looking at hydrocarbons, putting hydrogen into the system as a means to decarbonize. And also meters that when you hit a meter with a car or a truck hits a meter, it automatically shuts off. So it reduces the amount of methane leakage that way. So there's a number of R&D investments that we're very excited about. Expect them to come to market in the next few years. As I mentioned, the heat pump in the next 1 or 2, especially with the focus on energy costs and energy efficiency. Having a heat pump that has over 100% efficiency will help consumers save costs. So we're very excited about that. And hopefully we'll see a few of you purchasing those heat pumps as your furnaces wear down. Next slide. Through our market research, we see a very positive story to tell on natural gas. When you poll consumers favor natural gas appliances. If you live in a cold weather area, you want your home heated with natural gas. When you cook, you want to cook with natural gas. And I've been speaking, I think, about 10 minutes now. And during these 10 minutes, we've already had 10 new homes hooked up with natural gas. And today we've had 1 new business hooked up with natural gas. So every minute, a new natural gas home comes onto the market. So when people have the choice, they want to choose natural gas. As I said, for all the reasons I voiced earlier, cooking natural gas, water heating natural gas, I think we have a positive story to tell. Next slide. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Why don't you write the questions down? Write the questions down, and we'll do that during the answer question.
Mike was trying to run away with the book. I will now entertain a motion to approve the financial report printed on pages 10 and 11 in the annual report. May I have a motion to approve the financial report? I got a motion. Do I have a second? And I've got a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The motion carries. I'm going to return the meeting back to you, Mike, and I think you're going to do some question and answers.
Good, I just gave yours to Dave. So as Dave previously mentioned, if you've written down a question on a card, and I just got this gentleman's, please hold it up and someone will be around to collect. But you please feel free. I have several that I received prior to the meeting. So if you do have any questions, please write them down. I think there's index cards, and somebody can come around. Amy can walk around and get those. There's one over there as well, Amy, by the gentleman with the green. Or we have some other folks that can do that as well. So please hold those up. I will do my best to respond to all the questions, or will respond through some other means. Last year, and I'm going to do it again, through the Illinois Country Living magazine, I will provide these responses because we have a limited crowd here today. When you have 20,000 members, you want everybody to see them. And Illinois Country Living magazine is one opportunity to be able to get that message out and communicate those to everyone. This year, we had more than a dozen questions, actually 20 questions submitted prior to the meeting. I generally categorize those, the majority of the questions, in 4 categories: renewables, energy efficiency, and fiber and rates. So individuals who submitted those specific questions We will provide those responses directly via email or mail. Like I said, I'm only going to respond to 5 general categories. There are about 20 questions overall, and we'll get back to you on those. We have your email as well as your mailing address. We'll draw names for bill credits at a later date for those who provided questions prior to the meeting. So on to the first question. We need to eat in about 10 minutes. Are alternative means of consumer energy, for instance, solar and wind, still eligible for credits? Renewable energy federal tax credits are available for geothermal heat pump systems for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, solar energy systems, and small wind turbines. The renewable energy tax credit is available as 26% through the end of this year, and it reduces to 22% through 2023. For more information about federal tax credits, you can go to www.energystar.gov or by contacting your tax advisor. Question number 2, any rebates for upgrading appliances? Dave mentioned a number of different options that are coming in the future for natural gas. We also have some natural gas incentives. John Scott, who you may have seen handing out light bulbs, but also is our energy detective. He does more than just hand out light bulbs, I guarantee you. And so they offer a number of different, a range of incentives. So the full list of incentives are available through Joe Carroll Energy and can be found on our website. Also suggest that you contact John Scott, and he can discuss other ways you may be able to reduce consumption so you don't have to use as much. Your bill will be less, and through energy conservation and energy efficiency measures. You won't hear that as much from investor-owned utilities. We're here for you as member consumers. How soon before we receive fiber? Number 3. Very popular question. I want to first thank everyone for your patience. We've received, I mentioned earlier, the $25 million worth of grants. It takes time to first you got to get awarded, but then you have to go through a pretty long process, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. Sometimes it'll take up to a year before that money becomes available, and we cannot begin construction until we do. So for those of you who have been awarded for those of you in awarded grant areas, it's going to be, and this is at the maximum amount, 4 years. In most cases, it's going to be 3 years or less. Our goal, though, overall, if you're not in one of those grant awarded areas, is to provide fiber to everyone who wants it within 7 years. This timeline is possible as long as certain grants qualify and we're successfully awarded those grants. Currently, because of the infrastructure money, some of the largest grant opportunities are being released. They're releasing their final rules and other details even as we speak. So we are engaged, watching closely, prepared to apply for any feasible opportunities, and timing will depend on the grant schedules and you submitting interest. Again, this is a grassroots effort. ConnectSP.com. Please put in your interest. That's what we look at to determine what areas we're going to go into next. Number 4, I always anticipate competition among internet service providers, but I do worry since Joe Carroll operates at cost for the provided services, it may fall victim to customers repeatedly switching back to other providers who can offer them temporary discounts. You know, you get the offer, $10 for, well, it's more than that, but you get these special offers, if you sign up now for a year, we'll provide it for this amount. So do they switch back? So what we are finding, the response to that question is no. The data shows that consumers are not switching. And the reason is because fiber service is a superior product. In addition, we offer assistance for qualifying homes via the Federal FCC, Federal Communication Commission, affordable connectivity plan that can reduce those monthly broadband bills for qualifying members. You do have to qualify for less than $30 a month. And last but not least of those 5 categories, I'm hearing on the news that energy prices are going up. How is that going to affect my bill? A lot of news going on right now about energy prices. Not only that, but inflationary pressures that we're seeing, not only from groceries to gasoline to other materials that we require, whether it's in agriculture or even in our home. So just like you, Joe Carroll, we're facing those increasing inflationary pressure on materials as well as energy costs. We are committed, though, to containing those costs as much as possible while maintaining your safety and providing the reliability that you expect. We continue to encourage you to reach out to us if you are concerned about being able to pay your energy bills. Better to be contacting us before that point, and we can work with you. Remember, we're a member-owned consumer cooperative. And now for a few questions from the audience. How can my cable bill be more than, I like this question. How can my cable bill be more than my Joe Carroll Electric? It's amazing how much, when you have all those add-ons, how much your cable bill can become. It's over $200. I cut the cord, just as an example, and was able to go to a $59 package. And of course, I'm still paying for Netflix and maybe YouTube TV, but it was a heck of a lot less than my cable bill with all the add-ons. So good question. There's a blank one. With the shutdown or closing of so many power plants, will Joe Carroll Energy be able to have enough power for the peak season, or will we have rolling blackouts? Folks, the sky is not falling yet. I'm just going to be very, MISO, the Mid-Continental Independent System Operator, they're conservative. We have a reserve margin of 18%, MISO does. So what they're concerned about, if for whatever reason, on a very hot day, a number of power plants, which could happen. Remember what happened in Dallas-Fort Worth? That's what David was talking about with Storm Uri. They weren't prepared, though. They weren't winterized. We are. We're in a colder climate. Our power plants, and especially, I'm going to give another shout out to Crystal Riney from Prairie Power, as well as Dairyland Power. They are owned by us. We are on the board of those organizations. They know what's important. We say we need the affordability, we need the stability. At this point, I feel very confident. Can't guarantee, but we are going to have more shortages of energy and specifically capacity as more power plants do close. So there has to be something that fills that gap. And time will tell. We're working very diligently with our legislators and with our associations. I know Dave mentioned National Rural Electric Cooperative Association. They're also in DC. I was there for 4 years. They have over 850 members as well across the nation in every state. So taking over 55% of the land mass. So legislators listen, and they are listening to us. So we will have enough power. This year, it's going to get less and less capacity. We do have to find ways to be able to build additional baseload capacity to fill that gap before we can use additional technologies. And we also have to think about to stabilize our rates as well. We can't just jump into some very expensive newer technologies. We have to balance that over time. And we do, as Dave mentioned, Dave Sen, Chairman Sen, we also have to think about the environment. And it's a challenging balance. That's all the questions. I think Dave was going to respond to the gentleman. I think I want him to respond to it, but go ahead, Dave. Remember, we also provide electricity as well.
I got two questions here, and they're both on the same subject, natural gas. And I'll summarize the questions, but a lot of the talk you hear is about electric vehicles. And are natural gas vehicles dead? Natural gas vehicles can run on compressed natural gas. And the answer to that is no. A lot of people think electric vehicles are emission-free. They're not emission-free. The emissions are just upstream at the generation plant. And on a city-by-city basis, for example, you can take Chicago. A electric vehicle in Chicago produces more emissions than a CNG vehicle just based on their generation mix. Unfortunately, I think in terms of CNG vehicles, for the passenger vehicle, that's a tough road to hoe. But for CNG vehicles, it makes all the sense in the world to have a school bus, a trash truck, the shuttle I took at the airport to take me to the rental lot. Makes all the sense in the world to have those run on CNG, long haul trucks run on CNG. But I think on the passenger vehicle side, Tesla and the other EVs have taken over a large portion of that market. I'm not sure if that's going to come back at the passenger side.
Thank you, Dave. And we found one on the floor, and I do not want to not answer this, respond to this question. Very good question, and I think it's a question that most of you ask yourselves. Why do you charge so much for delivery? Really, the response to that is we have 20,000 members, and we are fairly levelizing that cost, our cost, to those 20,000 members. We do perform a cost of service study every year. We have a new CFO, and he's not new anymore either. He's only started a year before me. We do a cost of service study every year to make sure that we're fairly charging the correct cost to you to bring the energy to you or natural gas to you. So that's the reason. We don't have 1.7 million customers. We have member consumers, but we only have 20,000 spread out in a very broad area, a very rural area, and we do a fair cost of service study to determine what that delivery charge is to you. But good question. Thank you. That's all I have for now. I'll turn the meeting back to you for any unfinished business, Dave.
Remember the day when I didn't need the glasses to see what I had to say. There has not been any new business brought to me prior to the annual meeting. There being no additional new business now, I declare the 83rd annual meeting of the members of Joe Carroll Energy adjourned. At this point in time, Mike, I think you've got some things to do before we serve dinner.
Well, I believe we have some drawings, but if dinner's ready, we might as well start serving it. But I shouldn't make that call right now on the stage. So
They say yes in the back.
they said yes, so good.
We can give out scholarships while they're passing out meals.
Right.
Let's do it.
Why waste
All
time?
right.
7 o'clock. I'm hungry too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So education is one of 7 cooperative principles, and we're very proud of our scholarship program at Joe Carroll Energy. And it's funded, again, it's unclaimed capital credits or donated capital credits. Tonight we will draw for our director scholarships. I think we just have a, who has them? Somebody has them. Oh, here comes the food though. Okay, you're getting food, so you're good. I think we only have a reminder. I know I asked individual down here, young lady, is everybody, any other students, high school seniors that are going to be, that could be eligible that may not have registered? Please raise your hand. That's in the audience. We don't want to miss anyone. It's $500, so I'd be raising my hand if I were you, just in case. But I did. All right. So we're going to provide, there's 4 different scholarship, there's 4 individuals that will be going on to a further education, and they're director scholarships. So once I call your name, you don't have to come to the stage, but if you could go to which side are we talking about? Over to the stage left, right? I don't know my stages. Stage right. So from District 1, and please, I know the directors are over there. District 1, Dawson Fan. If I pronounced that right. Dawson, if you could go over. Thank you for coming, by the way. Wow. How'd you get these guys here, Jerry? Another one from District 1, Connor Miller. Connor, please go to the stage right. Carson Miller from Galena, District 5. And is it Maya? But I did not. So Maya Dickerson. And I just found out Maya is going to school in Monmouth College, where my niece is going to go next year. So congratulations to all our scholarship winners. I'd like to encourage everyone to watch for this in the future. Let's see our 2023 scholarship program. That'll be later this year, towards the end. It'll be on our website and in our co-op publications, Illinois Country Living. Now for the prize drawings, I'll turn the stage over to John Scott and Sydney Mater.
Good evening. We'll be drawing for 15 different names. The first one we're going to draw for is a $300 value for the energy audit. So if you're looking to save some money on your energy cost, electric, natural gas, we recommend doing an energy audit to identify those areas. And Kevin Fire, I think it is, in Erie, Illinois. Yes, sir. So you've won that package there, okay? You can catch up with me and we'll talk about it. All right. Next, we'll be drawing 4 $50 credits, bill credits, applied to your account. And the first one is Lawrence Bruckner. Yes, sir. That's one. Okay. Number 2 is Kenneth Babinski. Did I get that right? Kenneth? Yes, sir. There you go.
Shuffling through.
Yeah. Number 3 is Robert Breitbach. Robert?
It's over there. It's on.
Okay. And the last $50 bill credit goes to Dwayne Immel. Dwayne. Yes, sir. All right. Now we'll be drawing 10 $25 bill credits. So, Mary and Michael Kirk. Very good. That's
Somebody happy.
the second one goes to Dale and Julie Harms. The third one goes to May Allen, or excuse me, maybe it's Alan May. Yes, sir.
Look at my fingers probably getting cold every time I look at them.
The next one goes to Clyde and Levon Eden. All right. Works. Next, we have Randall Stottle. Yes, sir. How many is that? I lost count. Five. All right. We're halfway through. 5 more. Eleanor Stever. All right. Richard and Karen Miller. All right. And 3 left. Joe Bavone. Did I say that last name right? Close enough. There you go. All right. Linda Miller. I didn't see a hand raised. And the last one goes to Charlene Collins. There you are. All right, thank you.